The following issue, although the surplus of money has been totally created by teachers' willingness to take a pay freeze and have their premiums raised, this has not been clearly stated to the public, leaving morale at an all-time low with the staff.
I'm really glad that this question was asked, because I've heard it around the community with people that are fully, strongly supporting the schools, and I hear this question of why did we work so hard on these levies and then all of a sudden we have all this money, we don't understand. And I think that one of the things that I hope, if I'm elected, to bring to the board is improved communication, because there's reasons for all of this, but we've got to figure out how to most effectively communicate this to our community. And when you are part of the school, you have 82% of your budget going to staff, because we're a service organization. It's not because we're putting too much money into staff, it's because we're a service organization. So when the staff comes and they make concessions, it will hugely affect your bottom dollar, because that's 82% of your budget. So that's where a lot of it came from, and that's why you saw such a drastic number. Now they've made those concessions for 2 years, so we've got to look. Right now they're saying it's balanced for 5 years based off of what we know now. But we know that those negotiations are for 2 years. So I think that we need to really clear up some of that, and my opinion is that the staff was willing to make those concessions, number one, because they felt like this was the right thing for the kids. They felt like there was some educational things that we need to be able to give back. And also, they saw some stuff happening in Columbus, and they realized, you know what, across the state, everybody's having to make concessions, and they're not putting themselves above that, which I look up to them for that. There's other reasons I have on my website. This is a blog question that I posted because so many people had questions on this. My website is Babb4Boro.com if you'd like to read my explanation. And what I did is I went and talked with Mrs. Jarvis, because she is our treasurer in the district, and I felt like she would have the best explanation. She wrote up the budget. And there's a lot of things with offering teachers early retirement. What a fabulous option of being able to support those teachers that are near retirement, but at the same time hiring in teachers that are at a lower level. But I'd like to give credit to not outside organizations, but to the board, to the administration for making these changes that were already in place. It wasn't just because of what other people said at a board meeting. Thank you.
Test scores considerably. I think our average is about 23 now, and I would like to set a goal to raise them to an average of, say, 28, because that'll help the students get into the college of their choice and possibly earn some more scholarship money, some real tangible benefits. And I think we can do that with some focus on ACT prep. I know we do a little bit there, but I think we can do more. I'd like to see us do some grant writing classes so that when they do writing assignments, they have a purpose and they'll have a tangible reward when they receive a grant from somebody. I think we could have a class that's developed around grant writing. I think we need to remove the stigma that's associated with vocational training. As college gets more and more expensive, fewer and fewer students are going to be able to afford it. And we need to have the students who aren't ready to go to college be in a position to enter the workforce. And so let's remove whatever stigma there may be, because I think that there's a real good chance that the students that go to vocational training and then go into the job market are actually going to do better than a lot of students who are going to college only to find that the current economy is such that they can't find a job that they were trained to do. I think we need to move to electronic textbooks and materials. You see small kids with a whole backpack full of books that don't fall over backwards. And in today's technology environment, there's no reason that we shouldn't be moving to things like e-readers and such. So I'd like to see our schools opened up to the electronic world a little bit more than we are today.
Thank you. Mr. Prusi, the same question. Do you consider any programs currently in place in our schools to be unnecessary, and if so, what are they?
Well, the quick answer would be no. I do not see anything that's unnecessary. I think we need to expand more. We have so many students that have so many different ranges of opportunities. Just in my own family, my daughter was more the educational section where she went through all the educational issues, and my son was more the music person. He wanted more music classes. And the more I hear is, we need more electives, we need more special courses to motivate the kids that we have. So I do not see anything
Ms. Babb, same question. Do you consider any programs currently in place in our schools to be unnecessary, and if so, what are they?
I feel like there's so much more to education than just the academics. Obviously, academics are very, very important, and that's going to be the critical piece. But when you think about your, like let's say your high school experience, you think about the sports that you might have been involved with, the robotics that you were involved with, the yearbook group that you were, or team that you were part of. And I feel like it's really important for us to research out, what is Springboro looking for? What do they want in our school system? What else could we be providing for them? So to look at any programs now and say, should we do away with those? I don't think so. If we have enough people that there's an interest there, that's us helping students be very well-rounded. Because when you apply for colleges, they're not just looking at GPA. They're looking at what you're involved with. So I feel like as a school, we need to figure out what is it that we should be offering to them. And then for the community, we need to figure out, how are we going to pay for this? Is this something that we're going to do away with some stuff? Is this stuff that we're going to have to ask for more money? The answer is not here right now. It's at that point in time, what is going to happen with that? And I feel like with us having, Mrs. Ellis mentioned the high gifted population, we need to continue growing. And at one of the last board meetings, they were talking about increasing the AP classes. It's critical that we keep doing that because that's where this population is. If we were in another community, that wouldn't be important necessarily. So we've got to look at what is Springboro, what does Springboro want, and it's the communication piece. Once again, this comes back to communication. And we've got to make sure that we as a district are providing what the community feels like they want for their children. So I feel like education is way more than academics, so that's critical. We've got to look at the other things that we're able to provide to make our students well-rounded students, so when they go into the college, working world, whatever it is, they're ready to tackle anything that they're faced with.
Thank you. Any questions? Do you consider any programs currently in place in our schools to be unnecessary, and if so, what are they?
And that was Mrs. Gregg, right? Did you ask?
Pardon?
Did you call me?
No, I said Mr. Petroni.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't hear you.
You're next, though.
You know, I just want to step back to something I reiterated previously about if you elect me to the board, I will tell you, the teachers and faculty, the truth. The $11 million that's reflected today as concessions that the teachers have offered to balance the budget means that if we had 500 employees who were faculty and teachers, you would have taken a pay cut of $22,000. I don't believe that has occurred today. That being said, to the question that was just asked, it's impossible as a policymaker to really say here tonight what programs we really need to get rid of. Clearly, our education in our curriculum is driven through state mandates or state directives. So focusing on what's important to the children and being able to really get back to the beginning. I mean, public education was established or created in the sense that it was to focus on teaching critical thinking. So we should focus on programs that enhance that. Help cultivate a workforce. Well, if we have programs that help cultivate a workforce, then we should focus on that. Help compete globally. We're in a global economy. So if there are programs that aren't doing that, then perhaps those programs should be weaned out of our system, and we should focus on new areas to invest our dollars and invest in our children to help them for, I mean, they're our future. And lastly, you know, preparing for college. I've been to several community graduations, and they put up on the walls the amounts of money and resources that that district and the counselors and the curriculum and the administration and the teachers have helped their kids secure. We should find ways to enhance that. Those are all the things that I would see as important. And if programs get cut because there's other priorities in the 21st century and focusing on a future, then programs will have to get cut so that we can meet the needs of the future.
Thank you. Ms. Gregg, do you consider any programs currently in place in our schools to be unnecessary, and if so, what are they?
No, I do not, but I, know that there is a possibility we cannot fund those programs. But in the same sense, we talk about the future, and we are in a global economy. We also need to be developing and allowing our children to be creative and critically think to develop the future jobs for right here in our own country. To get us back on the track of being as competitive as we can be nationally as well as worldly. The electronic textbooks, I definitely think would be a good advantage to have to, expand into that. Foreign language, I talked to a student not too long ago, a high school student who was doing college visits, and one of the things that she said that she felt she was lacking when she got to the college to find out some of the criteria and things that was going on was that we didn't offer Latin. But all of these things, I mean, it's all great to think ahead, but I think that you need to make sure that you research, and that's done by the professionals who work with the children and the staff and the leadership.
Okay, thank you. And the last thing, Ms. Ellis. Do you consider any programs currently in place in our schools to be unnecessary, and if so, what are they?
I can't think of anything that I would consider unnecessary. I would hope for anybody that sits in the seat made that kind of choice, there would be community engagement, focus groups, a strategic plan, and those kind of conversations would be taking place. I know sitting in this role, though, sometimes things do, on the surface, look like there's not a reason for why do we have teachers doing that, or why do we have this or that. But that's where you come back and you ask those questions, and you get the questions answered, and oftentimes you'll understand there's a reason, and there's a method behind the badness. So that's just a way that you make your judgment when you sit here. But to sit here and tell you that programs should be cut, no. If anything, if you've seen my website, I'm very big in my platform of keeping the things that we have. I'm huge on art, music, libraries, things like that. And if anything, I'd like to be expanding and enriching those things, not taking anything away. One thing I think we operate is not really a program. I think there's entirely too much focus on standardized testing, particularly in the lower grades after about the junior high. In high school, it's more ACT, have graduation test, maybe not quite as much there. But in the lower grades, I just think we need to step back sometimes, all of us, parents, community, educators, and realize that a test does not define a student, it does not define a teacher. I'm particularly concerned with this, with the whole merit system coming down and how this will be implemented. And my concern is that there's going to be even more focus on that. I think we're going to need a state support level to get us away from so much focus on the standardized testing and how it affects district report cards and things of that nature. And that's a state reform I support.
Thank you. Okay, we have 20 minutes to go in debate. So 6 times 2 for closing statements is 12. So we don't want to waste any time. So I found a question. If the timekeeper will go 1 minute, we can get one more question in 1 minute, and then we can have our closing statement, because I want to make sure we exercise our time. Okay, so 1 minute, and I'm trying to find some question that can hopefully take 1 minute, and I think I found one. And we'll start with Ms. Ellis. Do you consider yourself to be a custodian of the school budget or an advocate for the students and schools' business?
I consider myself to be an advocate for the students' best interest. And it's the students, it's the parents, it's the teachers. It's a connection, it's a partnership, it's all of us, but definitely the advocate.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Babb, same question. Do you consider yourself to be a custodian of the school budget or an advocate for the students and schools' best interest?
Though I think the finances are critical, absolutely I'm an advocate for the children. I feel like as a board member, that's our job. Yes, we represent the community, but my job is to make sure, as a board member, would be to make sure that the children are getting the education necessary and the teachers are being supported in order to provide that education necessary. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Regano, that same question.